Hello, it's me.
Hello everyone, this is Aditya and I welcome you back to another episode of the Funny Podcast. Very bizarre, very real, and I really wanted to start off by thanking you all for tuning in for the past 6 months, listening to me talk about my life and what all has happened in it. It's been a great journey. More than that, I would like to thank the people at India Film Project Podcast Lab, which is a great cohort running right now. Brilliant podcasters, brilliant issues, brilliant themes, and something that keeps me motivated to create more content even when I am not well, or even when I am uh, going through a bad phase. Because of the podcast lab, ideas keep flowing in, and I try my best to bring out the best stories for you so that you can find it enjoyable. Another shout out to the partners of the India Film Project Podcast Lab, which is anchored by Spotify, anchor.fm. Thank you so much for making this a really easy and yet motivating experience. Today, once again, I've picked up a tale to tell you that is real and happened to me or happened with me a lot of years ago, back when I was in school. And this was something that was probably one of the key points where I realized that schooling was actually fun. And not because I learned about science, but because I had really great company. And this company is something that I probably won't find ever again. That's probably more the reason why I cherish it so much. Why, whenever I think about it, it makes me smile. If I'm alone, it makes me laugh. And now today, you'll also know what it is about. So it's a great thing. And what I'm talking about is about my school friends. I've had a lot of school changes, and amidst those, everywhere I learned something new about friendship, about what do friends do, about what do friends do but they shouldn't do, and it's a great experience. I mean, if not for that, I probably would not have run through 25 episodes of this podcast. So anyone who went to school with me at any age, thank you so much for giving me content. So without further ado, today's tale starts off when I was in the 8th standard. Let's start from there. That's a good beginning. So 8th standard, I was in a government school, which I have discussed before in my previous episodes. I was in Kendra Vidyalaya. Kendra Vidyalaya, also called Central School by those who want to feel a little elite, is an establishment which is very old and is probably in every district of this country. I mean, how great is that? A school that's everywhere. So in such situations where you have a father who has a transferable job, it's easier for you to be in a Kendra Vidyalaya because after a certain period of time, you get transferred and you can continue your education without a lot of hassle. So that's what happened here. But then, by the end of 8th standard, I realized that, yes, okay, so why am I saying I realized that? My dad realized that next 4 years is all about high school. There are two very important exams that are coming up. So why not shift him to a more competitive environment? Now, for those who don't understand this, probably IB school students and ICSE students, a more competitive environment basically means sending this child from a government school to a private school. And it becomes automatically very competitive because your parents are already saying that we are spending a lot of money. You need to score more. And it's true because compared to what Kendra Vidyalaya used to charge, compared to what private school used to charge, Kendra Vidyalaya fees was pennies. I have studied from 4th grade to 8th grade, spending a fee of 450 rupees a month. No, I guess it was something around 850. So yeah, for 3 months, for three months, yeah. So yeah, it's bizarre that it's this particular fact in itself is very bizarre. So yeah, I've promised to present you the deliverables of the podcast. Now, this competitive environment basically was a CBSE school which was privately owned by someone who used to own a coaching center, if you remember about them from the previous episode. And they opened up the school, and the school became one of the best schools. Obviously not the best school, but one of the best schools in the city, because we also had a DPS. So yeah, it's like going for the Olympics and trying to get the 4th position, because the 3rd position, because US and China are gonna get the first two. So I shifted to another school, a new school. I was not mentally prepared. I mean, I probably am a person who's not that good with changes. That's why it takes me a lot of time to move on from relationships. So now this change that I'm talking about, this was very difficult for me because I was completely accustomed. Now when I was in 3rd standard, I was in an ICSE school, and the environment, people, everything was different there. And from ICSE you come to Kendra Vidyalaya. Let me tell you one thing that might feel like a metaphor, but that really happened. My eyes were shedding tears of blood. That was the change for me. And here I again shifted school, and I figured that okay, this is a very different environment. First of all, ninth standard students here, like ninth standard girls here, wear skirts. In Kendra Vidyalaya, they had to switch to salwar kameez because not only are they bad in providing sex education, but also they think that salwar kameez is like a condom. So it was a lot. This was just one thing, and everything changed here because people were different here. The competitive, yes, they are. Everyone was competitive, and you know why I say this? Because the school used to allot classes or sections based on your percentage. So if you are in 9A, you are one of the cream batch. Yes, this is a real term. People who are in cities where coaching is there, or who are in cities where competition is being acknowledged, the word creamy layer or the cream batch is very prominent. You just understand it. Now that I explained it, it also goes with the French saying creme de la creme. So A section gets creme de la creme, and then by the time you reach section E, you reach a point where it is double toned or probably triple toned with adulteration. I am not saying this. This is how the system was. I was completely against it, but when I entered, they asked me my percentage in 8th, like literally on the first day. We all the new entrants, they were put into one classroom. They called everyone one by one, asked them the percentage in 8th standard, and then they said, "Okay, you go to A section." Now I joined. Before joining, I knew this is what it is. This is what how it goes, and I was a little happy back then because I directly got into the A section. I entered, and my percentage wasn't even that high. And when I entered, I saw my class teacher. I told him that I've been sent here. He said, "Go and have a seat." Me and another newcomer who was a friend of mine, we both took a seat behind two people who turned back, introduced themselves, and their introduction included their percentages. It's like, "Hi, I'm Aditya." He was like, "Oh wow, I'm also Aditya, 96.2%. That is when I realized what exactly is happening here. For the rest of the day, I did not ask for anyone's introduction because it was only going to make me feel sad. That's how it was. But like every other tale, there is a silver lining. I started to, get accustomed to the school. This school, which is a private school, was nothing in comparison to my Kendra Vidyalaya school in terms of infrastructure, which again we've discussed in one of my previous podcast episodes. They did not have a field. I mean, if they had any patch of greenery, you will get like a Dasara break or a Christmas break, and when you come back, there's a building standing there because they're just adding more people, earning more money, and they need classrooms. And they need classrooms really bad because when I said they'd segregate you on the basis of your percentage, I said about the double tone, triple tone thing. That was because in 9th you need to select a language, a second language apart from English. So A to E was only Sanskrit. They had the same concept for F to J. So there were 10 sections in 9th standard, every section with 40 students. And this happened for every single class. There were 400 students in every single year. And there was not enough space. So they used to have day shift and morning shift. And we used to go in the morning shift for 9th. And due to certain reasons, notorious reasons, the shift pattern was 9th, 10th, 11th will come in the morning. And they completely switched it to 9th and 10th will come in the day shift. That is from 12 o'clock when we reached 10th. Probably to teach us some responsibilities and all that you should be able to, handle junior classes, made us prefects and stuff. I was one of those discipline prefects as well. So they gave me A section in 9th. I was in 9th A. Throughout 9th A, I made a lot of friends and we had a lot of fun. Fun that I could have never had in Kendra Vidyalaya because Kendra Vidyalaya was like a kilometer away from my house. I can walk back home. This school was far away. So anything that I can do, my parents won't get to know. And this is what happens. This is what happened back then, that after school we used to go out, eat, then somehow reach home, or someone, if you remember my previous podcast, some of us used to have two-wheelers so we can go to school on our own. But I was on the bus list for a very long time. So 9th standard went in a jiffy because by the time I reached the end of that year, I had my very strong fair share of fun. It was all as in not just solving mathematical problems, but when it comes to mockery, when it comes to joking, when it comes to getting bullied, I've had it all. And getting bullied is not fun, but it is a part of your experience that I won't hide. So there was a strong bond between everyone. We used to talk. We went for a school picnic that happened for the first time because let's just say Kendra Vidyalaya does not have school picnics. or at least mine didn't. So we went to a water park, had a lot of fun, tried to act like adults when we were only acting juvenile. And throughout all of this, I realized that 10th standard just came up. It was there. Now, throughout 9th standard, we were being told that, you are the cream batch, you should, be focusing on your studies and all. And this class was full of students who had 90% in their 8th standard, which means they were conditioned. They were like Pavlov's dog for good score. They salivated every time someone said surprise test. And still, amidst that crowd, there was a whole bunch of notorious people. Like, legitimate notorious. We've done things that nobody could have imagined from an A sectioner. I know sectioner is not a word, but that's how people denote you. So it happened so that we used to have a lot of fun, and some of them were beyond school rules. For example, going to the chemistry lab. I remember going to the chemistry lab for the first time, and we were heating up zinc in a test tube. Now I placed my test tube a little too high so that all the heat from the flame was reaching directly to the test tube, and it burst. And I was automatically apologetic that I'm really sorry, ma'am, I did not know this. And she just calmly came to me and said, it happened, it's an experiment. Accidents do happen, take another test tube. Now, I really thought that she is very kind, she's very polite, and she really, wants me to feel comfortable and not panic. Years later, now I feel like, okay, she must be thinking inside her head that, yeah, you're not the first one, dude. Everyone does that. So once she gave me that approval, I probably broke more test tubes than my entire batch, heating up stuff, or just putting acid and base and water together to see what happens. That will be another episode, actually. There's a lot that I've done in the chemistry lab, which had nothing to do with chemistry. So this tale specifically focuses on the last day of 10th standard. We were 10th A. There were high expectations from us. Not by our parents, but by our principal. Like, I remember some of the students of our class, they even used to meet the principal, and the principal used to greet them every day, talk to them, ask them about their parents. That is how close the students were to the principal then. And at the same time, we were also the batch which used to make the most noise. We were the noisiest class. And the problem with that is they had us in a different block from the administration. And why we were the noisiest is because every time a teacher goes away, they finish the class and they leave. The very next second, one person will start yelling the lyrics of some old 80s to 90s song, and the entire class goes into chorus. Nobody hesitates. I'm exaggerating, obviously. Some people were like, we should call the police, but yes, there were a lot of people, and we used to do the Jagrata thing there inside the class before the next teacher comes in. Till this date, I can't stop hearing Dulhe ka Sehra, Suhana Lagta Hai, without imagining myself inside that classroom. We used to sing bhajans, we used to sing these cheesy, tacky Bollywood songs, and we did it a lot. It was a ritual. It was such a and it got popularized. Everyone knew that 10th A does this. It was such a popular ritual that the principal gave us the classroom right above his head. And the funny thing is that once they did, we were quiet for 2 days. That's it. We gave up. We were like, now we can't do this. The principal thought he won the war, but he had only won the battle. The third day, we started singing louder. And all of this was happening at the end of the year. And I don't know if your school had it, but a lot of school students do this. On the last day of their 10th or 12th exam, they sign on each other's shirts. Probably one of the few times when some students in their 10th grade got to second base. And we were signing, and we were singing, and we were yelling. There were pictures being taken, which means back at that time when phones were not allowed in school, it was being used. So there was a lot of nuisance, and the 4 classrooms in that particular area nearby our class, 2 had classes going on. And because of the hierarchy that they've set based on our scores and ranks, these 2 classes were at the lower level. So they were anyway not studying. The teacher was only getting annoyed, and the teacher also knew that this is A section, what will happen at max. But then, amidst all let it go by people, there comes one Anna Hazare who went down to the principal, politely said that this is what is happening upstairs. The principal said, I know, it's right above my head. And once our signing was done, we were called into the principal's office. The funny thing is that we did not get into the principal's office because we were 40 people. So he made us form a queue in front of his office, slap the first two, the boys only, try to set an example, but the slap only made me and my friends laugh. He wanted to slap more, but I don't think it would have mattered, because then someone else would have laughed, and then he would have continued, and there would be a perpetuity to it. So he yelled at us for a lot of time, and he just said that, I have the power to actually cause you severe damage. And our juvenile minds were, what can you do? Today is the last day. I mean, we are done with 10th standard. Some of us will score CGPA 10 and they won't even come back to the school for their 12th. That is the stupid juvenile attitude that we had. The ego that was boosted up with adrenaline and testosterone. So he played a card which we call as the trump card. He said, you won't be getting your admit cards for the boards. Yeah, all our egoistic smirks went away. And he knew he won. He did won the war. We promised that we won't repeat it. He said that your parents will get an email, and they did. The funny thing was that my email address in their file was my email address. My parents did not have an email account back then. So I read the entire mail. I was like, okay, this would have been damaging to me if I would have been honest. And after that, we gave our 10th board, got some good results, and then again segregated based on what stream we chose and how much we scored. Life goes on, and that should be the moral of the story. But it is anticlimactic. So the real moral of the story is basically, there will be consequences to your actions. There absolutely will be. But you need to be a little rational into deciding what are the risks that you want to take and what are the risks that you don't want to take. The day you figure out the fine line, you're pretty much sorted for a very cool, happy life where you have your responsibilities being balanced to the fun that you can have. This is the first episode where I am giving you a moral, and I think if you've heard it till here, if you've listened to me till now, this is something you can actually believe. Years later, I still remember the memories that I've made in school. But you see me talking about it every other day, and I always claim that these are egoistic, stupid, or juvenile. Do it then, so that you have that memory, but do not make it a habit so that you kind of miss doing it and you return back to it. That was all from my side for today. I hope the story felt bizarre, because that is my only purpose in life right now. I'll be back soon with another episode. Once again, huge shout out to India Film Project and Spotify, Anchor by Spotify Podcast Lab. Stay safe, everyone. Also, I had a small request which I should have added in the middle, but here it goes. I have a Patreon, and making content is a lot of time. I'm putting in a lot of resources, and since I see that you guys are enjoying it, you are constantly listening to it, I just want to make a small request or an appeal that if you like it and you want to support me further, I want to come up with something new. I want to do things which are going to keep me up to date with the entire podcast market in the entire circuit. So you can go to my Patreon account and just pledge anything that you feel like. There's a very small amount that is there. So just whatever you feel like, it helps me buy new mics, probably buy authentic software for audio editing, probably gives me money to fund some podcast and production. So you understand what I'm saying. With this, I say goodbye. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned.